Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. At a recent event, I had the opportunity to meet a young man who has written a book about my hometown of Greer, South Carolina. It's called Greer Bucket List, 100 Things to Do Before You Die. On a guest line today, the author, Jonathan Lovegrove. Welcome, Jonathan. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well, enjoying my newly started summer break.
There you go. It is summer, isn't it? So, all right, so let's talk about when did you decide that you wanted to write a book?
Well, the idea has actually been kind of in the back of my head for a few years. I'm a volunteer at the Greer Heritage Museum. I've been making social media content about Greer for a while, so the idea's been back there. I kept putting it off, but eventually I decided I've got to do this. I'm not going to be able to live with myself if I don't get this into print. So it's been about 6 months. I've been planning, working on it, and it's finally out.
Yeah. Your book includes 100 bucket list items. Give us a few examples of what we'll find in the book.
Oh, there are so many things in the book, and I put up a few photos here.
Cool.
It is a full color book, so inside and out, and it features kind of spots all around our community. So a few of my favorites, there's actually an entire museum here in Greer that I didn't know about. It's the Ultimate Driving Museum by the BMW Car Club. I had no clue it was around. Then there are other spots that might be a little more prominent, like our downtown and spots like the historic Greer Depot that the locals might already know about, but those who are new to the city might not know about. So whether you're new to the area or you've been around since you were born, I'm sure I've got some surprises in there for you.
Yeah, well, put me in the category of I've been here since I was born. Born and raised, as we say, in Greer, and it's just, look, there's so much to talk about Greer. Actually, last week I had Mayor Rick Danner on, and we talked about a lot of the exciting things happening in Greer. Was it kind of hard to narrow it down to 100 items?
You know, it actually was. Some people have the reaction, how did you reach 100? For me, it was the opposite, especially on something like restaurants. Yeah. When you start thinking through, okay, what are my very top few favorites? And you start to think, well, I actually have a lot of favorites. Like, how do I include just a few? Because there's only so much space. You don't want to take up half the book with restaurants. So I found myself having to cut and trim, and you start adding in events, and pretty quickly you hit that 100 number. Yeah. So I agree. This was actually kind of a struggle to choose what are the top 100 places. And I talked with a lot of folks just asking kind of what are your favorite spots? What do you enjoy? So I did get some outside input to kind of narrow it down to this top 100.
Right. On our guest line today, Jonathan Lovegrove, author of Greer Bucket List, 100 Things to Do Before You Die. Let's talk about those restaurants. Give me a few examples and some of your favorites.
Oh, there's so many good ones. I don't know if you've been down to Cartwright Food Hall.
Oh, yes.
It's right on Trade Street. And here's my pitch. If you are in a big family, everybody has kind of a different taste preference. You go to Cartwright, everybody can have what they want. There's a burger spot, there's a sushi spot, there's pizza, there's a coffee shop. So kind of whatever you're feeling, you can all go have what you'd like. And it's a beautifully renovated building. It was totally dilapidated a few years ago. They renovated it fully. It's just an incredible spot. That's Cartwright Food Hall. And if you're looking for a little more fine dining, my other favorite on Trade Street is Select. Right on Trade Street. Yep. It's excellent.
Yep. Select is one of my favorites as well. Of course, I have a bit of a history with restaurants in Greer. Another favorite of mine, and sadly, it just announced that it was closing temporarily, looking for a new owner, I guess, and that's Cannon's. And Jonathan, I started working at Cannon's. It was my first job when I was in the 5th grade at Victor Elementary School, and Virgil Cannon was my neighbor. and I was able to start working there as washing dishes and just doing whatever needed to do. I worked there throughout my high school years and my college years. I'd come home for the weekend, and if I needed to pick up some extra money, Virgil would let me come in and work. And so, but I would imagine that restaurants alone, it was hard to narrow that down.
Oh yeah, very hard. And what I'm hearing there is we need to have you at the Greer Heritage Museum for a history event and get an interview. I'd love to hear your stories from Cannons and Victor. That's some deep roots.
Oh, I kind of gave Mayor Rick Danner a bit of a hard time last week because, my elementary school was on the site where some of the new apartments were being built. And for the longest time, even after the building came down, they still had the baseball fields there. And so they're building over the baseball fields that I played Little League Baseball on growing up.
Oh no. Well, I think we need to have you back in Greer to share some of those memories so we don't forget. That's a big part of local history is making sure that those stories are passed down.
Yeah. Jonathan Lovegrove is with me today. Pick up a copy of his book, Greer Bucket List, because I'm sure there's some items in there that maybe you're not aware of. And let's talk about that for a minute, Jonathan. What is maybe, as you started researching for the book, was there something that was just really surprising to you, something that you found out that you never thought about?
Well, you might not be surprised with this. I'm a history buff.
Yep.
So there's one spot that kind of shocked me. It's down near Abner Creek Baptist Church. And it's this one tiny historic home. And it was the original location of Abner Creek. And it's incredible to see how just a family started this church in their home, and now it's grown to this huge congregation. And I think that idea of legacy, it comes up in the book where you see the historic side of Greer, and then to the booming modern side. I know Rick Danner was on your show. I heard that, and just talking about the growth, how far the area's come, how far Greer's come. I think it's just an incredible story of our community.
Yeah, and there are a lot of little hidden stories like that. I was speaking with some folks just recently over at GSP International Airport. And, of course, I remember that when it was known as the Greer Jetport. And it was all open air. Nothing was enclosed. Anybody could walk out to the gate, and you literally walked out on the tarmac to board the plane. But there's a little area near the GSP that is known as Flatwood. And there was a school there. My dad went to Flatwood Elementary School. And so to know little tidbits of history like that, and we need to preserve that and let people know the new generations of some of the history of Greer. And I'm glad to see a young man like you who's interested in that as well. Once you came up with the idea, how long did it take you to write the book?
Yeah, it's been the actual time working on the book. It's been about 6 months on my Christmas break, on my spring break. I mentioned the book is full color. So one of the hardest parts was the photography. I would lay out a route on Google Maps and just spend day after day driving around town, getting photos of really all 100 locations. So that was probably the most time-consuming part after making the list. But it was quite the project, but about 6 months of work to finally get it into print.
Yeah. You talk about the photos, and there are a lot of photos in the book. So you took all of the photos?
I took, I'd say, about 65%.
Okay.
With the events, I was doing this over Christmas break, so there were some summer and spring events that I couldn't take photos of myself. So the Greer Heritage Museum collection has quite a few photos that I used in the events section.
Yeah. As you mentioned earlier, the Greer Heritage Museum, you are active there. Talk with us about the museum.
Yeah, I would say the museum for me has been kind of an exploration point because obviously the collection is immense, but then the people who walk in the doors, they share what they love about the community today. They share what they've loved about the community in the past, and kind of seeing both sides of the picture. I think that's just been an incredible experience. So I would encourage anyone, if you want to get plugged into the community, maybe come volunteer at the museum, because for me, it was very much a starting point for this book, a starting point for kind of exploring Greer, exploring my hometown, and kind of digging deeper into what my community holds.
Yeah. Talk with us, Jonathan, about the hours of the museum, and is there a charge to enter?
Yeah, the museum is free to visit. We're open, I believe now we're open about 5 days a week. Our hours vary per day, but normally it's about 10 to 4. So check on our website, check online to verify that we're open, but we'd love to see you.
Yeah, and it's located in right behind the Greer Police Department, Fire Department. I think that used to be the post office, didn't it?
Yep, the historic post
Yep.
office building and then City Hall actually.
Yes.
But it's also if you get the book, the museum features quite prominently in it. So all the information you can find it in the bucket list book too.
Yeah, my guest today is Jonathan Lovegrove. He's the author of Greer Bucket List, 100 Things to Do Before You Die. And, of course, we're talking about the Greer Heritage Museum as well. You know, I haven't been to the museum in a while, and I need to come by for a quick visit. But the last time I was there, I noticed there was a doctor's bag there, and it was R.C. Alverson's, who was actually the doctor who delivered me.
Wow, I that right there, that story, I think is just a glimpse at what I hear every day. It's just those personal connections in a community. And social media is great. I mean, I'm a Gen Zer, but in this digital age, we sometimes forget those like close community ties that we actually do have here locally. And that's part of the incredible kind of work we do at the museum is kind of creating those ties, reminding people of those ties, and then bringing it to today. So I love the way I formatted this because the museum, I kind of feel like takes the past, and then the book is looking at us today,
Yeah.
and we're tying those two together into really what Greer is.
Does the museum have a website?
Yep, it's greerheritage.com.
GreerHeritage.com. You can find out all the information, location, hours of operation, and if you'd like to be involved, I'm sure there's information on there too, Jonathan, as far as how you can volunteer as well.
Yep, that's right on greerheritage.com.
Yep. All right, so we talked about your book and the fact that it was kind of tough to narrow it down to 100. Does this mean there might be a part two of the book?
There might be, you never know. I've also had folks from Spartanburg and Taylor say, "Hey, can you jump over to our community, highlight what we have to offer?" So I don't know. I'll keep the door open.
Yeah. If listeners would like a copy of the book, how do they find one?
Yes, so Greer Bucket List is available on Amazon, and I'm also very thankful to a number of local businesses. There are actually so many I can't list them all off, but the museum is one, and all throughout our downtown area, you can get the book in person.
Yeah, and let me encourage you to pick up a copy, especially if you like history and you're from the upstate area. And I want to encourage you, Jonathan, to do this for other cities. You know, one of the things I've been doing recently and the reason I had Mayor Rick Danner on is I've been doing a series of interviews of upstate mayors because I'm just fascinated with the history of a lot of these cities and how they got their start. And of course, Greer being right on the railroad, it was very convenient. There was a stop there, and every city in the upstate, they have a story like that. My second hometown, if you will, is Travelers Rest. I owned a business there for many, many years, still own some property there, and I was able to speak with the mayor there just recently as well. And, of course, Travelers Rest got its name because travelers would come across the mountain, or on the way over the mountain, they'd stop and rest there.
Yep, that's right. And I don't know, that's a good idea. Maybe we should partner. I don't know, go around the upstate uncovering those stories. But I just tend to think if people get involved in their communities, find the spots that are active today, and then learn about the past, I don't know, I'm not here to solve all our generation's problems, but I think the more involved we get face to face in our communities, that's going to solve a lot of the problems our generation and kind of our culture is facing when we get back to community.
Yeah. Now, Jonathan, I know you've had some book signings and events to promote your book. Who is the typical reader, and are you seeing a lot of young people like yourself interested?
I'm seeing all ages, actually. It's unpredictable who shows up to get a book, but I will say at our launch event, I was just shocked by the range from the people who had visited Greer, who were visiting the town on a vacation. They showed up to the event. We had newcomers who have just moved into the area in the past 1-2 years. And then we've had folks like yourself who have been in Greer their whole lives. So I don't think there's a right audience, I think pretty much anyone visiting Greer can find something in here for them, whether it's the person who's on a vacation who doesn't know that Greer City Park exists,
Right.
or the old timer who's trying to uncover those historic gems like Suber's Corn Mill. Wherever you are, however much you know, I think there's going to be something in Greer Bucket List.
Yeah. Jonathan Lovegrove, author of Greer Bucket List, 100 Things to Do Before You Die. Jonathan, thank you for your time. Quickly tell our listeners how they can follow you and get in touch with you.
Yes, you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Jonathan Lovegrove, and please reach out. I'd love to get in touch.
And run by the Greer Heritage Museum because you might be able to meet Jonathan there and pick up a copy of the book, and I would imagine maybe even get it signed.
Oh, yes.
Jonathan, thanks again for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan. No Ozempic, no shots, no meds. Look, I refuse to rely on prescriptions for life, and you probably feel the same. Joey Hudson here. Here's what Big Pharma won't tell you. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the hormone that fights hunger. PhD helps your body produce it naturally, faster, and without side effects. With PhD, there's no muscle loss, no rebound weight gain, and no cravings. Just real, lasting weight loss the natural way. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. It takes 5 minutes and shows what's really happening inside your body. You'll walk out knowing how to flip your fat-burning switch. No shots needed. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma and without the drugs. Plus 15% off when you fully commit to your program and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now 864-644-1900. Start today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. As the weather continues to be nice and warm, sunny days, people are starting to think about fresh, locally grown vegetables, fruits, and all that comes with our local farmers markets. On our guest line today, Jenni Callahan, Market Director of Hub City Roots. Welcome, Jenni. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Your market was originally known as Hub City Farmers Market. A couple of years ago, you rebranded to Hub City Roots. So why the name change?
So the market itself is still called Hub City Farmers Market, but we have kind of a parent organization or an umbrella, however you want to call it. But Hub City Roots, we rebranded to that name because we do more than just the farmers market, and we wanted to make that clearer to the community that we run other programming. So, some of our other programs that we have, we do SNAP outreach in the area, and that's actually the other side of the other role that I fill, besides market manager, is I go out into the community and I help people apply for SNAP, and I promote the market during the week. We also have our Seed to Table program, which is my coworker, Ben. He goes into a couple of the elementary schools in Spartanburg, and he has like a regular curriculum, and he teaches about where food comes from, basically, and he does cooking demos, and so that's a real big part of our education outreach. We also have the urban farm, and Ben is also the manager there at the farm, and that's actually really close to, it's on the same property where the market is held on Saturdays, but that's been a teaching farm ever since it was put in about 10 years ago. And so he does workshops and field trips and things there. So those are just some of the other, we've also done like the youth crew where we bring in a team of teenagers that work on the farm. And, so we have lots of other programming that we do besides the market. So that's why the name changed.
Sure. Makes sense. Let's kind of dive in a little deeper on some of those things. One of the goals listed on your website is to close the food equity gap. What is food equity, and is that a real problem in Spartanburg?
It is. It has historically been a real problem. There are a number of food deserts, and basically, in case people don't know, a food desert is just there's a certain distance that the people that live in that area they don't have a place to buy fresh food. A grocery store, it's not nearby, and there's a transportation issue. So Spartanburg is it's historically been full of food deserts in different areas. And that's one thing. The north side of Spartanburg is specifically one of those. And that's why the market is located where it is. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to close that food equity gap is just by location, just being located where we are. And then other ways, we have our double SNAP program. So, there are other markets in the area and in the state that accept SNAP dollars, but we actually match SNAP dollars. So that's another way we're matching people if they qualify for SNAP and they use their SNAP card at market, we'll match up to $40. So they can turn $40 into $80 to use on any food at the market. But then we also have an additional program on top of that called Healthy Bucks. Mm-hmm. So any SNAP customer will also get an additional $15 to use specifically on fruits and vegetables. Sure. So we're making food more accessible to people by, cutting that the cost of the food in half, basically. Sure. And then that money goes right back to our local economy. It goes to our small farms that are able to, we're supporting them as well. So it's a win-win, really. We're supporting them so that they can grow even more fresh fruits and vegetables. So that's another big way that we're closing that gap.
Sure. Our guest today is Jenni Callahan. She's the market director for Hub City Roots, who has the Hub City Farmers Market in Spartanburg. Jenni, you mentioned SNAPs. For our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with the SNAP program, tell us about that.
Sure. So it stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and it is what used to be called food stamps. So it's people under a certain income threshold can apply for SNAP. It's run through the Department of Social Services. They can either fill out an application online or whatever, but if they're approved, they get a monthly allotment to buy food in grocery stores and farmers markets. So it's very helpful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the market. You guys, you have a pretty long window as far as your summer market, if you will. You start in the spring, go through the fall, but you also you have a winter market as well. So you're pretty much open year round.
Yeah, we pretty much are. Yeah, it's we have one a month for January, February, and March. This past winter, we did a little more. We did it every 3 weeks. But at any rate, at some capacity, we'll have a winter market. That's the plan, because our farmers need it and our community members need fresh food all year round. So, and because we're in South Carolina with the climate that we have, people can pretty much grow something all year round. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Jenni, you have been with Hub City for a number of years now. Yes. You were, as I understand it, you were a farmer prior to joining the organization.
That's right.
Are farmers markets, is this something that is really becoming more and more popular? Has it been in previous years? I mean, it was years ago, everybody went to their local markets. Then it sort of, they went away. But are you seeing a resurgence of markets?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing new markets pop up all over the place all the time. And I do wonder if there's a little it stretches the farmers to go to too many markets. I do wish that we would work on strengthening the existing markets that we have, but I do understand why people want markets, closer, to their locations. But yeah, I would say that farmers markets, for farmers and for customers, that they are extremely popular right now. People are interested in eating healthier, and supporting locals. When you spend money at the farmer's market, there's something like 80-something% of your dollar stays in the local community, because if you're spending it with, small businesses, they're going to shop the same way. They have the same mindset, and people like that.
Yeah, yeah. Jenni, tell us about your location and where can people find information they may need about Hub City.
Sure. So our website is hubcityroots.org. And we're located during the week on Saturday mornings, from 8 to 12. Our address is 498 Howard Street. It's close to downtown. We have a really awesome location with a permanent structure there. We've got I think we have 28 or 29 vendors that'll be present tomorrow, and our focus is food. We always have like an 80-20 ratio of food to craft vendors, but we do have fun craft vendors out there too. We've got people with handmade body care and pottery and jewelry and lots of other things too. But our focus is on providing food to the community. So, and everything that we have is local, and everything that we have is producer only. All of our vendors, they have to actually bring out what they produce themselves. There's no reselling allowed at our market. So that's another thing that you can know, that you're supporting, the person that you're buying from is the person that actually grew or made the item that you're buying.
We're talking with Jenni Callahan, Market Director of Hub City Roots. Jenni, are the same vendors there week after week? I mean, do vendors typically sign up for the whole season, or do you have a variety? Do some people just come week to week?
It varies somewhat week to week. We have a number of vendors that are there every week. So a lot of our farmers, our bakers, and then like our body care, a lot of them are there every week. But we allow other vendors. I mean, I tell them, as long as I know the day before, you're welcome to come and set up if I have space. So we do have a lot of, our crafters and makers that rotate in and out. And, I'm happy to have as many as possible. So.
Yeah. And Jenni, if someone who may be listening today, if they're interested in becoming a vendor, what's that process look like?
So we have our application online, and there is the deadline for this year was back in March, but we'll still accept applications. And if you're approved, they have to pay a fee. But it's on our website, which again is hubcityroots.org. And if they have any questions about that, my email address is also on the website. They can find that and they can email me and ask me questions. I'm the one that approves the application, so I would be the person to ask. Yep. But yeah, we're always accepting new vendors, especially farmers. We could always use farmers.
Sure. Again, our guest today, Jenni Callahan, Market Director of Hub City Roots. Jenni, let's go back and talk a little more about beyond what Hub City does, beyond the farmers market. You have a lot of educational programs. I think those are very important. You work with youth quite a bit. Talk with us about those youth programs.
So the youth crew, we're actually not running that program this year, but in the past we have had teenagers, high school age students that come and they spend like maybe 10 or 12 weeks working on our urban farm. So they learn about farming. They'll do other workshops too, like financial literacy, and they'll maybe go do yoga one day and they it's a paid internship basically, but then they come out and they help out at market. And it's because a big part of strengthening the local food system is education. And that's really the long goal of this is, we can provide the food, we can support the farmers, but if people in the area don't change their mindset, if they don't learn what it means to eat seasonally and why it's important to support your local farms, then all of those other things, they just won't take root quite like they will if we provide the education that we do. And that's the other reason why we're in the elementary schools as well. We're teaching kids at a very young age. I mean, a lot of these kids, they don't know what a vegetable looks like before it's cooked and served on the plate, so the education is a really important part of all of this.
Yeah, and talk with us a little more too, Jenni, about your urban farm.
Yeah, so it's a teaching farm that is on site at the market. So we actually do grow food there, and a lot of that food. Oh, that was another program I didn't even think to mention. But we also run our fresh stop fridges, which are coolers that are kept in a couple of the rec centers in Spartanburg. But Ben grows food, and then we just put it in these coolers, and people take it home. so the urban farm does that. It produces food to give to the community, and it also provides a place for field trips and other instances for people to learn more about farming and gardening.
Sure. And again, you can find additional information about what Hub City Roots does. Just go to the website, hubcityroots.org, hubcityroots.org. And Jenni, when you go to the website, you see a lot of great local businesses and groups who are sponsors and supporters.
Yes.
It takes money to operate these type programs. Talk with us about those sponsors and the importance of having those sponsors and community involvement.
Oh, yes. Like you said, it takes money to run all these programs, and we love our sponsors. We do have sponsorship opportunities still, specifically for the farmers market this year. But we'd love to have our sponsors, our weekly sponsors, that come out and set up a booth at market, and they can pay a price just to get face to face with the community. And I think it's a really good thing for shoppers, and vendors for that matter, to see the cooperation between, different businesses in the community that have like the same mindset. Everybody's interested in public health, right? And,
Sure.
Supporting local economy. And it's a really good thing for people to see that. And we couldn't do it without our sponsors, for sure.
Yeah. And finally, Jenni, I would assume that there's probably opportunities for people who maybe are listening today and they think, gosh, I'd like to be involved in that. Do you have a need for volunteers?
We do. Oh, goodness. Thank you for asking that. Yes, we do. We do need more help at our Saturday morning market, and that would be amazing to have people. And it's a really fun environment. Yeah. You do have to get up early. But if you're an early bird, it's such a great energy. And if anybody wants to come out and just help, just kind of manage things, help me set up and break down and, distribute our tokens, because we have a token system for people that show up without cash. And also, the SNAP money is distributed with tokens. Yeah. So I always need help doing that. I need help with running the children's booth. So yes, there are lots of opportunities for people to volunteer Saturday mornings.
Sure. Sure. And one final thing, and this is really the last question.
Okay. All right.
How many people typically attend on a Saturday?
As far as vendors,
shoppers.
Shoppers, yeah. On a good, let's see, a good average Saturday in the summertime, maybe 700, 800. Wow. Yeah. We've had more, in the past, we've had as many as 1,000 on a Saturday. And it's a little bit less in the shoulder season, but sure. But yeah, I'd say 700 to 800 on a good Saturday in the summertime. Sure.
Jenni Callahan, Market Director of Hub City Roots, thank you for what you guys are doing in the upstate community. It's important work. And look, I just love farmers markets, and it's great to have Hub City there in Spartanburg as well. Appreciate what you do. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Joey. It was great. Thank you.
Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts attacks. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.